How was Beyonce?
Great. This is one of those things that was,
Planned pre-baby.
yeah, it was planned pre-baby, and then we had a baby with no heads up at all, of 3 days, and so we had to like kind of eat our loss on the tickets in Chicago. And I was like, I'm Beehive down, and I was like, I'm not missing the show, so I was like, we will find a way to make one of these stops happen because he was born in March. The show we were gonna go to was in early May in Chicago, and okay, that's probably a little too early because we didn't get home for like a month after he was born, so we got home in April, and we bought tickets for the Atlanta show in July, and it ended up working out really good. But she's great as always.
Did you guys just go to one show?
Mhm.
Yeah, we went to three during Renaissance, but we only went to one this time.
I think because of the way you guys posted it, which I thought was fantastic, I felt like you guys were following her around. So I was like, wait a minute, they're going again? So because it's
Atlanta,
a thing.
Atlanta, like the whole city was like about her that weekend though. Like
Yeah.
so like everything you went to had something to do with her, I feel like.
Yeah, and then yeah, we did space out the content. Like to we posted every night that she was performing in Atlanta. That
Hmm.
way it was like I'm a marketer by like trade, so I was like, okay, let's get some eyes on it while it's hot because I mean yeah, Atlanta, it was so much fun. Atlanta was like unlike it was our first time it was my
And
first time in Atlanta as an adult. I went when I was like a kid, and to see like the whole city, like everything was Beyonce. And when she came here a few years ago, it was not like that. See, we're in Kentucky. It was not like that.
I will tell you, Atlanta is probably one of my favorite cities to visit because it is like stepping into a whole new planet when you get off that airplane. Um, and I kind of enjoy because I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, so the diversity out here is sparse. But when you go to Atlanta, it's like a complete flip. So it's different. I like the vibe. I like the energy. It's just different.
Welcome to Fathernetics, Fatherhood Unfiltered. I'm Jamil. Welcome to the podcast.
You can never find somebody do it like me. I'ma turn it all the way up, cause it kamikaze. Go ahead and try, baby. You are gonna see that you'll
I had been once before, but it was for like a music festival. So I was really just like at the music festival. I didn't like see Atlanta, but I did. We really like Chicago, but between like it and Chicago are probably like my
Yeah.
two of my favorite cities I've been
I,
to. I
I,
really
What do you like about Chicago? What's drawing you there?
I don't know. I just like, well, my grandma is from there.
Hmm.
Um, she lives in my hometown now, which is middle of nowhere, Kentucky, but she's from Chicago. And so we would go there a lot as a kid, and I'm from like really small town. So I don't know, Chicago always just seemed like so cool to me. And then when I moved to Louisville and like we would go like a couple of times a year and
Chicago's the closest city that like gets like all of the shows usually. So like Beyonce goes to Chicago every time. We saw Taylor Swift in Chicago. Like
everybody gets to
everyone
Chicago.
goes to Chicago, and that's our closest like metropolis, if you will.
So I had the pleasure of meeting Beyonce a few times actually
Oh,
in Houston.
very cool.
Um, this is many years ago, back when she was just now starting Destiny's Child. So her and Kelly Rowland used to come to my church. Her mom used to go to our church. So this was the Kelly and the Beyonce before they are who they are today. I rarely ever tell that story because then it makes me seem like some sort of a fanboy telling a whodunit kind of an episode, and people are like, "Yeah, all right, that didn't happen." So it's like, so take that for what you want. She doesn't know who I am. She wouldn't recognize me in a crowd, so we'll just leave it there. All right, so tell me, because you have a cute little boy Harrison that I am following on your YouTube channel. What what would you say prepared you to be a father? And let me preface that by saying Fathernetics for me is really about the knowledge transfer that we're getting from generation to generation, right? So the podcast is really designed for anyone who has a father or a father figure in their lives, which is almost everyone, unless something strange happens somewhere, right?
But yeah,
So
that's I don't have a father figure. I grew up without a father figure in my life.
there you
Um,
go. So I mean, so curiosity, right? I have a dad. I got some things from him. I got some things that I decided not to take on to my life that's made me who I am today. What would you say some of those are for you?
Um, yeah, I am really close to my dad still. Um, and I am the oldest of eight, actually. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so I'm 27 almost, and my youngest sibling is seven, or eight. My youngest sibling's eight. Um, so I grew up with kids and babies at like
And
always around.
still are.
Yeah, and so I always would say, always told him like I felt like having so many siblings and like such age gap in siblings too because my parents had me very young, like 16 and 17. So I feel like I was about as prepared as I could have been without ever having my own child.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, on the other side, I grew up without, father. I was raised by a lot of really, really strong women. My dad was like nowhere to be found, nowhere to be seen. I can count on one hand the times I saw him through my life. The last one being I was like 8 or 9 years old, and he passed away a few years ago. And so I never really got to know him. Didn't get really close like my uncles until I was like much older. So I didn't really have strong father figures. I learned from like the women around me really, and I was the baby. Where Tyler was the oldest, I was the baby of five. So I didn't have a lot of young kids around me either. But I think coming up through the internet has made, I guess, fatherhood or seeing other people with families like ours or the family at the time that we wanted was accessible. Growing up here, I never met any other gay parents. It wasn't until we actually started researching ourselves and what we wanted our family to look like and how to grow our family that we started finding other creators online and seeing like their families like, oh, this is actually a thing that people like do. Because we're in Kentucky, we're in a progressive little spot in Kentucky, but I don't think I've seen you know gay parents.
Yeah. Well, when we were that was one of the things too when we were in Atlanta, we saw like two different sets of like queer gay parents. And it's just it's not something we really like run into at home. So it's nice to like see when we see it, it like makes my heart happy.
So.
So when we're talking about creating your community, right? Because I think not just LGBTQ parents, but I think anyone has the opportunity to decide what kind of community they create, who we have around us, who interacts with our kid, the values that they have or don't have, and what we're looking to pass down to our kids. Knowing that you're growing up in somewhat isolated area where you may not have the opportunity to have nearby parents to show your kids, this is what is normal. How does that kind of work into the mechanics? Are you guys thinking of relocating years in the future? Is this permanent home because it's quaint, it's small, it's comfortable? You guys are familiar with it.
We go back and forth on it, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. So Kentucky, like Louisville's home to me. I'm born and raised here. I left for 5 years to go to college in Washington, D.C. That was kind of my first experience. Like, oh, this world's actually so much bigger than, because Louisville's very segregated even to neighborhoods. Than like really the neighborhood I grew up in, because I went to elementary, middle, high school, in, like the same area of town. Never really left that area, like even within Louisville, there wasn't much reason to go beyond, my zip code.
You're making it
Um,
seem like there's like one stoplight in the city.
no, it's
No,
bigger.
no, no, that's what I'm thinking when he's talking because I'm from a town like that. And I'm like, no, when I came here, I was like almost like culture shock.
Yeah.
Like,
So let me lay like Louisville out for anyone watching. So Louisville is the Louisville metro area is comprised of 36 like or something like that, like neighborhoods. So there's like the Highlands, there's St. Matthews, there's Middletown. Each one has its own police department, fire department, and like but at some point my understanding is when we wanted to bring UPS here, our mayor and governor at the time, just put all these little seats together and made one city to, group a bunch of people together. That's how I think it happened. That's how I've been told it happened. I've not fact checked that,
Yeah, I'm gonna
but,
fact check you later.
but please do.
No,
Um, but yeah, so Louisville's made up of like these smaller, like little bitty towns within a city, which that's not unique to here. But the way our school system's set up is, you kind of stay in that area for most of your task, like for most of your things that you do every day. And it's not that big. Like Louisville's not that big, but especially when you go somewhere like Atlanta. But to answer your question about, we've talked about relocating. At the end of the day, we have a support system here, and that's really, really important.
Yeah.
And especially with like a newborn, where we know people in other towns, but they're like friends, and they're great, and we love them. But it's different from like a grandparent or from you know someone who is related by blood, and we are very fortunate that the people related to us by blood are great, and are resources we can lean on. But we do struggle a lot with raising him in a place where he may not see
As
people
much
like us. Yeah.
like families like us, or as much like diversity and things, and like yeah, like the town I'm from is Corbin, Kentucky. It's where KFC originated. That's like the only thing it's known for.
well, look
Um,
at that.
yeah. But it's like 7,000 people, super conservative, not, and I just,
Do you know Mr. Kentucky? The Colonel. Is that it? That's his
yeah,
title, right?
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, like has the same birthday as me, interestingly, coincidentally as well. But the only thing that stops me from like wanting to relocate somewhere else would be my family. Like my mom's here and I'm really close to her. And then the rest of my family is in Corbin, but Corbin's only 2 hours from here. Like we go there on the weekends sometimes and they come here. And it would be really hard for me, I think, to be pretty far from them.
But we acknowledge that, like, the political climate we're in is like, we have a pretty good governor here right now in Andy Bashir, and he's only here for 2 more years. And yeah, I think now like our calculus has changed now that we have a kid, and our responsibility and priorities are different. Where if it gets to a point where we need to actually move our family somewhere else to,
Feel comfortable.
feel comfortable and, raise him in a place that isn't going backward and it actually is moving forward, then we will, and we won't think twice about it. And, if we needed to tomorrow, we would. So,
What do you think? Give me one thing that you think has changed since having a kid that you didn't expect. Because I know, for example, for me, I obviously I have a 12-year-old through adoption. So we've had him since he was 4. We adopted him here in the state of Arizona, and I think we did everything to be prepared. Right? We went through certification and training classes and all this other jazz in order to be qualified to be a parent of a child, because we couldn't have a child through natural means, which is a whole different subject. Get me started on that. But in order to just get there, there's so much preparation, schoolwork, homework that we did. And then when you have a child, it's like, okay, all of that really goes out the window.
yeah, absolutely.
Because we thought we were ready, but then this kid's like, well, I didn't read what you read, so doesn't matter. So what would you say is some of the biggest impacts from going from overnight success, really, from not having a kid to here we go?
I think the hardest part about it for me in the beginning was lack of sleep. I
Mm.
like obviously knew that that would be a thing with a newborn, but I that's what I struggled with the most at first. But honestly, I got adjusted to it fairly quickly. I feel like.
Are you a sound sleeper? Are you like, I need my 8 hours or I
Yes.
can't function kind of? Okay.
Not now, obviously. I've gotten adjusted to like being able to get like 5 or 6 hours, but Sean's more of the night owl.
Yeah.
And I'm more like I'm in bed 10, 11 o'clock up. I do get up early, up like 6 or 7, and I've been like that my entire life. So it was really, really hard for me.
I think for me that the biggest change was it was not sleep. I'm an insomniac by nature. Like I have always struggled with sleep, so I actually felt like prepared for that part and didn't find the adjustment as hard on sleep because that's like the first thing that people tell you is you don't know what real tired is, and and I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. Like they're right, and I hate to admit that people are right when they commented that on our stuff at the beginning because it's a different kind of tired. But I think that the hardest challenge for me at the beginning was, I think, not for the first time, not controlling my own time and my own schedule.
Mm.
Um, was, like we used to go to the movies all the time, and like we haven't been to the movies since, or we've been like once when when his mom watched the baby,
Yeah.
and um, you know, I pride myself on being punctual, and there was the first time where we were like an hour late to something. I was like, well, it just didn't happen today, and I think that was the hardest adjustment for me was like I can't just like get him ready and walk out the door. There's like now a 10-step
Step
process
to, yeah.
to leave. Because I think partially because right now he's a baby, and like if he decides then and there he's hungry, like we have to stop and do that. So
So for you, Shawn, I kind of went through a similar process of needing to make peace with
yeah.
myself so that I can be okay to round out those edges and kind of redo the expectation because I'm a punctual person too by heart. I've been married for 22 years to Nicholas, and just him, not just Jacob, but him, he makes me not punctual often. And it makes me crawl out of my skin. But I also have to come to the conclusion that it's just not me. If it's me, I'm going to be punctual. But if it's me and someone else, especially if Jacob is with us, then there needs to be some breathing room. And for friends and family, they now understand that, they get it because they've been through it. Some of them have already been through it. It's usually for the newer folks that are like, okay, well, they're always going to be late. So we'll say 4:30 and they'll be here at 5. Oh, okay. That works too. Let's do that. So what did you do in order to become okay with that type of a mental shift? Because I know that can't be easy because it
I
took me
think
a minute.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question, and it's not one we've talked about a lot with our social worker who still comes to our house once a month while we're waiting finalization. Is there are things that I've had to like mourn about, like the past life, not in necessarily a bad way, but where we got placed so suddenly, where it's unlike with like a typical pregnancy when you have 9 months to like prepare for this change. We found out about him on Friday. He was born Monday. Like we had
That is quick.
like I didn't have time to tell work. I didn't have time to tell like only one person in my family knew. 'Cause like, oh, he was still due in a month. Like, we'll next time I see you, I'll catch you up what's going on. But I had to. That change was so abrupt, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to us. But I didn't have time to like, okay, this is gonna be the last time we do this together, or next time we do this, we'll have a baby. Like we didn't know that Saturday that we went out with our sister-in-law because it was our birthday. That would be the last time that we did that, just the two of us. We had no idea, and so I think just giving that space, like time to like, yeah, that was an abrupt change, and it was hard, but it's okay.
I mean, it is what it is. You can't get away from it.
It's like I just think of it as like a new normal.
Yeah, new normal.
That's
Yeah.
a good way to say it. I wanted to go back to you, Tyler. You were talking about sleep. How important is communication when it comes to trying to plan how to navigate with Harrison? Because I know in one of your recent episodes in your YouTube, you were talking about your overnight schedules,
Mhm.
right? And I have to imagine that took some intention and thought based on how you like to sleep, how Shawn may or may not like to sleep, and then work schedules, and I'm tired, you're not tired,
Yeah,
everyone's tired.
I feel like we've kind of felt, well, when we first started, like when we brought him home, we were both staying up together. Like we were doing it fully together the whole time. I think it's because it was new and we were both kind of like felt better with each other there. But then I think we kind of realized that like wasn't gonna work long term because we were just both exhausted. Then we switched over. We do we just switch nights every other night. Like so he gets up one night, the next night I get up and vice versa, and that's how we do it. And whoever didn't get up during the night gets up early in the morning with him so the other person can sleep in a little bit.
Mhm.
Sean works from home, so that's like how that's able to work for us. But that schedule fit suits us much better, I think, because it allows each of us to get a little bit of rest, even if it's like broken up.
Mhm.
Now, working from home, Shawn, did you take paternity leave at all, or did you just kind of
Uh,
all let it flow?
not really. I took some leave, because it happened so suddenly. I like didn't have, frankly, the luxury of taking a lot of leave at once just because of just where I am at work. Like, so I took some. My workplace was very flexible with me because he was in the NICU for so long, and I didn't want to burn it all. And he's in the hospital, so I took some when we got back home. I worked, effectively part time for a little while, and then I just took. I did take some time off, but part of it I like kind of kept in the bank just for like later, because he was in the NICU for a while, and when we came home after a couple weeks, he was like, I felt like we had our routine down, and I didn't want to just like burn that time when someone told me at work, you're a new parent, trust you're gonna need a day, and you're gonna just take that day off.
Bye.
Yeah, just like you just want to just not work that day, and it's like if you use all your time off now,
It won't be there.
you won't
Yeah.
have it later. So they were pretty. That was the advice I took. Like yeah, I'll just take some time now, and then maybe at Christmas time I'll take some more, just as we need it.
How about you, Tyler? You don't work from home.
No, so I did before. I worked from home. I worked in marketing, like actually like influencer TikTok marketing. But I got laid off from that job, and then we knew we were starting the process of adoption, and we had kind of talked like that I was gonna stay home with the baby. And so that was I adjusted to becoming a stay-at-home dad. So.
No, I think that's awesome. Not a lot of, first of all, not a lot of jobs offer paternity
Mm.
leave for dads, and then throw in the LGBTQ letters in there, and it becomes all sorts of confusing for people that don't understand or follow or recognize that the baby doesn't care about the family dynamic. They need to be handled,
And
managed, supported.
thankfully, I work with so many other parents who like understood, because workplaces are that's something I don't think I understood before this process was one, how like kind of terrible workplaces can be to parents, and one, how just like this country is just not set up for new parents. It just isn't. And like yeah, there aren't, because like men can't take short-term disability like women can, and women should be able to, but there's FMLA, but FMLA is unpaid, and like that is like the thing that like gets my head just going lately. I don't know if you've caught the last vlog where I was talking about how this country is failing parents, but we sit in a good
All
position
right,
where
that's okay. You're entitled.
yeah, where we're good. Like, we're fine. Our bases are covered. But I was going off on like what formula costs, for example. And I was like, formula should be free. Everyone, it should just be free. Like, and so yeah, this country just I can run an episode on that for you if you want, but um
All right, so I started following you guys on YouTube just before this all kind of morphed into this, which I think is fantastic because I love following the story. It is my, for now, what I am very heavily invested in with Fathernetics. But how did you guys even start down this journey? Who raised their hand and was like, "Okay, are you ready? Let's do it."
You kinda, I feel
yeah,
like.
yeah. So right before we got married in 2023, and we knew we wanted to be dads.
Yeah, that was like discussed
Well
way,
before,
way, yeah,
well
way
before, which
before.
it should be discussed before marriage. It just should be.
But we know it's not sometimes.
Yeah.
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 Kudos for taking that step, guys.
So right before we got married, I was like, we know this process takes a while. We should reach out to adoption agencies. And I'm kind of the type A person between us. So I had Google Sheets and of every contact and people to reach out to, like right when we got back from the honeymoon. And so we started that process pretty fast,
Mhm.
kind of just knowing it takes a long time. So we did the home studies, we met with agency workers, and that took a few months. And then um, the story goes, we heard nothing for a year. There was like silence for an entire year. During this time, we started kind of going the surrogacy route. That's a big asterisk. And then we matched with a mom here, local, and she ultimately changed her mind, wanted to keep her baby, or decided to keep her baby. You can edit that for delicacy. But so we were devastated, and we kind of was like, okay, well, maybe we just need to take a break because we presented to so many adoption cases over the course of the 6 weeks after that. And then Tyler kind of hit a break point. He's like, I just want to be done. And I was like, well, we can't close that door yet.
After she chose to keep the baby, I was just like really down in the dumps about adoption for the most part. And we had talked about surrogacy as well, and like had started talking to surrogacy agencies and stuff. And so, yeah, I was so glad that it didn't work that way because I love Harrison more than anything. But yeah, before I was kind of just like, well, maybe I might just want to close the door on adoption.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when the first case fell through, I don't know, a lot of people don't know, with you put a lot of money into agencies, and I think that's its own issue of how much agencies just
Yeah.
rake in money. And we lost it. We lost it all, like tens of thousands of dollars, which we knew that was a risk. The emotional, because we that fell through just before birth.
Mhm.
So we were ready, as ready as we could be. Um, and
How engaged were you before it fell through?
We went to doctor's appointments, ultrasounds.
ultrasounds.
We went to lunches and dinners with her like once or twice a week.
Yeah, we were close, and then it fell through right before Christmas. Which
It was
she's
ridiculous.
yeah, she's we hope she and the baby are healthy, happy. But I mean, we were devastated because we were so close, and then yeah, we had a conversation on some Monday. He's like, I think I want to close the door. I was like, well, let's not. And then that Friday we get a call, hey, I want to show your profile. And um, Monday Harrison's born. So that was like a week of from not, closing the door. I was like, okay, well, let's not make any rash judgments here to a baby being born.
Wow, you were that close.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess there were like 2 weeks between when like we finally had been told that that placement had disrupted and when we were on the way to Vegas for Harrison.
Disrupted. I like that term. We use that a lot. I say we, it's not we. They use it a lot in the foster to adopt process. Our path was through the state, which for us was the most economic way because the state then takes care of everything financial from day one to day Z. And the last day or the last financial impact that they have for us is the college. So as long as he goes to college in state, they'll cover it. And obviously he has to make the grades in order to stay enrolled. Um, but from the jump, we looked into adoption as well. We looked into, in country, out of country, surrogacy. The costs is astronomical. And as I continue to talk to people on here, they've done this like 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5 times, just to have one kid, right? Because it's nothing is firm until the paperwork's signed. So it's like you can pay up to the last minute. It's like, sorry. And then there's just such a financial toll, a cost too of feeling like you're paying for something that you shouldn't be. And then through our process, we had to be very specific. What kind of kid did you want? What race? How old? It was a shopping list, and that felt a little disconnected when we went through that process. But we're glad we did. There are so many kids in the foster system here in Arizona. There
Yeah.
should be more parents that are made available to foster and adopt. However, in Arizona, there's a lot of red tape. 9 out of 10 agencies won't accept you because you're LGBTQ. So it's kind of interesting that the landscape here in Arizona is not getting any better. But you go to a different state, let's say California, you may have a better opportunity for the adoption process. But then there's some red tape there too, right? You have to live there for a certain amount of time, and so it's all of that. But I am curious as to any challenges you guys may have experienced as an LGBTQ couple going through this process where you may have felt like they were not listening, not paying attention, or perhaps discriminating against you?
I think we definitely felt discriminated against in the adoption process. Only like the way the agency we worked with, they would have their like cases come in, and of course it's like up to the parent, they can make their preferences, but there were so many cases that would come in that would say no LGBT parents. Like, and so that was hard like in the beginning too, because we would like see cases coming in and like reading them, and then we'd be going through their packet, and then it'd be like no gay parents.
Yeah.
That is so odd.
Yep.
I think from a clinical perspective, it's like, why do you care if you're giving up your child? Like, allow someone else to make that decision, especially if there is the intentionality of wanting to be parents as opposed to falling into a parental role based on a one night stand is what I call it. You know, you wake up one day, all of a sudden you're a parent, as opposed to what you guys have done is really put in a lot of thought over the years prior to becoming a parent.
Yeah, I will say, we don't talk a lot about Harrison's mom on our content, but when we did have a chance to meet with her at one point, and she was very open. She's like, I saw your profile, thought you guys would be perfect, and that made us think like all the people who said no for that, like there was someone who was so excited for us to raise her baby, um, and didn't care. She didn't care about that, and that was. Yeah, all those no's and reading how just discriminatory. Not that people, like, people can make the choice they want for, their baby. But part of me was like, that's still ignorance that has been ingrained into people's head that, gay people can't do this.
Mhm.
That I don't know how I guess this is how we overcome it, is just
Mhm.
being out there and being everywhere. But I'm sure we've gotten comments that are just, oh, maybe we're not as far along as I would like to think that we are.
I have gotten no comments on that.
Oh, lucky.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That just means it's out there somewhere. It's probably not reaching me. Nonetheless, I'm open to receiving. I'm no stranger to prejudice from several different windows, if you will. Just being a black person in America and being LGBTQ, and then my husband is white. My kid is a mix of us both, and he has red hair. So we get a lot of the, well, who's the mom? Well, none of us have red hair. So while it's a valid question, it's not like, who cares? Like, why is that even a question? Like, he has cute hair. Just let's move on.
Yeah, the comments we got, we decided when we started sharing this part online, 'cause before our vlogs were just about us and our life, but we put a filter on our comments for everything, so every comment has to get approved. It's just a decision we made. More so that in case, Harrison's older one day and goes back to look at them, and we just like don't see something and it flies under the radar. But the comments we would get about specifically about gay people can't raise families, and they were all ugly. All the profile pictures, they were all ugly people. And it's just like yeah, and they were not few. But
There were a lot more nice ones, but
yeah,
the adoption video we posted that like
took off. Yeah.
yeah, it we hadn't had a video do like that before, so there was also a nice slew of not so nice
Yeah.
comments on it as well.
I was like,
So
oh,
how did that feel? What was the what I have to assume was a good rush of adrenaline seeing that video do so well. I mean, it pulled me in, right? And I think it's all about what we are open to seeing, what we're looking for. I'm always looking for couples who are
As
growing
to
their family and having feel good moments and seeing our community represented in a positive way. So I definitely admire the fact that you've gone that route, that you've allowed that type of exposure for yourself, and certainly that you've considered what those comments could do to you and your family 10 years from now. I think that requires a lot of forethought. But how did that feel waking up one day and just going, okay, we've arrived?
honestly, it was an afterthought because we were in Vegas. We were so tired, and we posted the video and kind of just like forgot about it. Like, because we went from uploading often to like once a week, and so I didn't check for a couple of days, and then we started getting like the analytics just blew up, and for a while. it was like it was friendly territory for the most part. And then the first one, we had posted videos before, so like we had gotten negative comments before. It was just like once it started, like the things people started to say about babies was like weird to
Yeah, it
me.
wasn't about the thing. It wasn't like the videos before the baby, like whatever. But it was once people started having comments to make about families and like gay couples with kids and like
Hmm.
I that was like bothersome to me only because it's not I hate that it's something that Harrison himself may ever have to deal with one day. Um just the way people are. Uh and so and I feel like maybe that's just part of becoming a parent, but I was more it made me more so think about and realize like, oh, this might be something that he has to deal with one day too.
Yeah, it was like exposure therapy early.
Do things scare you more?
Yes, absolutely. I think a lot about the world that um, is being left for. I mean, 'cause we're still young, we're in our 20s, so the world that we're going into. But um, typically, I like to think that when I was a kid, the world got more progressive as I got older, and I feel like the last few years I've
You're
seen it
sliding
move
back, yeah.
backwards. Both on, Harrison's a quarter Mexican. He looks like a little Mexican baby, and um,
He's adorable.
the way people just openly talk about Mexicans
Hmm.
right now is just crazy. And he's a citizen, not that it matters, but he is a citizen. But I worry that he may catch a comment about that one day, and about us one day. And yeah, I think I've become more scared of like the world and what people are capable of saying than I was before. Because to me, I never cared about what someone has to say. It just wasn't, it just rolled off my back. But, my mode is now to protect him and his feelings. And
I would say I used to care a lot, but slowly as I got older, it's went away. And now for the most part, I would say it's completely gone. But when I was a kid and like young adult, I definitely like was more sensitive and more what people would have thought or said would have bothered me more.
So do you think that maturity level has come just from being exposed to it over the years, and it being more geared towards yourself? Because now some of those comments, right, are geared towards your kid. Um, Whereas if it was just you, you'd probably, okay, I've been there. But now with the kid, it's like, okay, pitchforks, we're going to work.
Well, yeah, and I would say that's definitely true too, kind of like I was saying about the video comments, because I felt like I cared less when it was just about me or just about him. But then like once the like family unit gets brought into it, I feel a little more like protective, so to speak, I guess.
yeah, and it's like the generalizations people make about like that. I think that's the part that bothers me because we may post 20 minutes of our week or 30 minutes of our week, and people making just generalizations about that. Or like the first one we posted, people were like, I hope they just making like gross inferences about like what some other couple may have done with a baby at some point. And it just the way people talk about gay people is just it just blows my mind. And then I asked the question. I responded to someone who had something to say once. I let one comment through just so I could just lay into it and get it out of my system. But I was like, I wonder why your algorithm is curated like for you. Like, why are gay couples popping up on your homepage?
Dum
And
dum dum.
I never got a response to that. But I'm like, there has to
Oh,
be.
we already know what the response is.
I was like, let's talk about that elephant in the room because you didn't know our names, you didn't just search for us. Like this was presented to you. So yeah, to
So,
answer your
if it helps any, I've gone through something of a similar arc. I was born and raised in Panama, which is in Central America. So for the first 10 years of my life, I was never exposed to prejudice because everyone in Panama looks like they belong there, right? They're either fair skinned, they look Latino, or they're my skin type, which is a little bit darker, which means you're, from one of the Caribbean islands and stuff like. So my grandparents were like Barbados and Jamaica and stuff like that. And obviously a lot of Latino descent in Panama. And then moving to Texas, I was very strongly introduced to prejudice, just being different, speaking Spanish, dressing different. Now, throughout the years, obviously, as I grew up, my skin got thicker, and I was able to manage and navigate these systems a little bit better. Now that I have a kid, much like you, if it's directed towards me, it rolls off my back. If it's directed towards him, then I get a little fired up. But I'm also aware that he's watching.
Mm-hmm.
And how I respond to these things matters more than the fact that it happened, because it will continue to happen. There's always some idiot out there that has an opinion, and it's perfectly legal to be dumb. So we just have to, it's one of those, we have very intentional, very open conversations here at home about what it means to be Black in America, what it means to be, a kid with red hair, which, you stand out a little bit more, what it means to be a kid with two dads, what it means to be a kid that goes to school and hears things like Donald Trump, or you don't support Trump, so you must be A, B, C, or D. And the conversations are always tuned to, you don't have to agree with them, but you don't have to disparage them either. Let that type of a conversation be an adult conversation, because you're 12. What do you know about politics? Right.
That's what kills me about here, I guess, especially my hometown, but also kind of just Kentucky in general, is like my mom and like my stepdad, they were not like talking about politics in front of my little brother. They were not supporting Trump, but my little brother came home from school talking about Trump and talking about political things because they were talking about it at school, and he is 8. He was young, even younger. Yeah. So that
he was like, I don't want Trump to win. Let me get out of here.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, these kids, like, they don't know what they're talking about, but they go to school and like regurgitate their parent, what they're seeing from their parents. So,
and depending on how their parents are, right, they can be very passionate about it. And I encourage people to be passionate about what they believe in, but also be able to articulate it and explain it and know your audience. So when he comes home from school and says, my friend won't talk to me anymore or call me this because I don't support Trump, then that becomes a different conversation. It becomes me having to get involved with the school to say, I recognize that these are hot topics today and kids overhear their parents having these conversations. However, perhaps a conversation with their parents is necessary to make sure that they understand that people are different. People believe in different things. Doesn't mean we need to be that aggressive. You're 8, you're 9, you're 10, it's like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore because you don't even know what we're voting on. Like, you can't vote yet. But this is the beginning of that road, right? Because it's going to be from here on out. You guys aren't there yet, but a lot of this happens by surprise. Because when this happened, it was like, okay, I didn't even know you guys were talking about this in elementary school. You're talking about having a girlfriend. Now we have to have a conversation about what respect is and what boundaries are. We had the birds and the bees conversation. Those are uncomfortable conversations that need to happen, because if you are absent on these topics, someone else is going to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, I've said that to you before. Like, if you don't teach your kids these things, they someone else will teach them. And yeah, I think the YouTube comments you mentioned, or like foresight, I think I find myself now thinking more about him in the future, while also not trying to put him into a box and like assume things about his identity now. We've gotten a comment for like, what if he turns out to be gay, straight, whatever? It's like, he's 2 months old. Who cares?
Like, are you following the channel at all? Like,
yeah, but I mean, but there are things people, ask. And sometimes it's like, well intentioned, just coming out the wrong way. And having some like, I do think parenthood has made me more patient with people in that
I
sense.
like the way your heart is. That's
Yeah.
a very nice way to look at things.
Wasn't like that before. It wasn't candidly. Yeah, I try. One of my good friends is a parent, and she has a kid who's 6, 7 now. But she's been very open since the beginning of like she's like I try not to put her in any box. We don't make assumptions. If she's talked to a crush, we don't try to put a gender on it. Like just
I feel like I agree with that a lot in the sense that like I've thought about that since becoming a parent, where I was like younger and grew up in small town like South area. Like I've always been more you've always been able to tell that I was gay. And so those comments would be
Yeah, I saw
made.
some of you posted on Instagram some of your younger pictures. I was like, okay.
But comments that people would make to you, even to a kid, like I think back to like comments that were made to me as a kid, like, don't talk like this or don't walk like this or move your hands like that. Or even I was telling him I bought a Hannah Montana book at the book fair. And when I was in third grade, and my teacher was like, "Oh, that's for girls," like, and like tried to pull me away from like buying it. And I just think more as a parent now about how like I don't want him to feel bad about anything he enjoys or like feel like there's any limitations or anything that are like put on to him.
So I think that's what makes us all kind of unique. We've had experiences where we've heard those micro comments all of our lives, right? That have kind of for some of us it has prolonged the amount of time that we were in the closet, or it has delayed our ability to dress the way or present the way that we want to because of those micro comments made by people that we love and respect, and we believe that they knew better as parents, because when you're younger, parents are those are your god figures until you learn that they're human and put on their pants the same way that any other human does. So that is something that I hear a lot, the intentionality about how things are described, the conversations that are being had, the ability to lay the foundation and have their kid grow into whatever it is that they design for themselves or identify as or come to realize that they are at some point. So what would you say are some of the high points of this channel doing so well, now being able to reach a wider audience and provide that type of, hey, it's not just me, I can do this.
I would say that has been the best and coolest part about the channel, like gaining some more of that traction was like we were mentioning earlier, we don't see a lot of it here, like at home, like in front of us. But since we started posting, we have like had conversations with and saw and like many other gay couples with kids like have reached out to us, and like we followed them and then we'll follow like their stuff, and like that has been like
Mhm.
really cool for me to see.
Yeah, I think and people like trust us with like secrets of theirs. Like there are creators we know that are having a baby soon that we can't say anything about, because they felt like because we shared with them, they can talk about it with someone online and like they've posted about it now. But there's this other channel we follow called Our Boy Story, and they just went through the adoption process and were just placed with a baby, and like they told us, and like your journey inspired us to like we've been talking about it for years, and we kickstarted it, and now that's like another set of gay parents that are now
Just joined us.
online and
Yeah.
vocal and visible, and they're two black parents in Atlanta, and they're I think this happened for them like this week. So, but they told us like you guys inspired us to like actually get this moving forward. Because we didn't talk about it for years, and that's been the coolest part. The second coolest part is our analytics have changed on YouTube in the sense that like
Oh
I'm a marketing guy. I told you it's what I do for a living. So before the baby, our marketing and our analytics, our demographics was like 20 something men. Now it's like 20, really like 30s, 40s, and it like actually skews more toward women, which I thought was like interesting
hmm
as our channel has changed into like more family content.
It's almost exactly half and half,
Yeah.
but women are just a little bit above men now. And before we had the baby, it was like
90%.
barely any women watching. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I thought that
Where'd
was
that come
interesting.
from?
If we brought more, but like so many like moms and like grandparents who are just like
Hmm.
mothers of gay kids or um,
A lot of grandparents on it, like grandmas, honestly.
older gay men who, this was the dream for them back in the 80s or 70s, and it couldn't happen for them, and they love seeing it happen for people
Mhm.
now. And like that makes like that like
Those
every
are my
time
favorite
like
comments.
that's why we share this
Yeah.
is like to is stuff like that. And then even younger people every once in a while will get like someone who is clearly under 18 will comment like, oh, this is what I want one day. Or we were at Old Navy one day and the cashier was a young, very clearly queer presenting person, was like, is this your first kid? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I want this one day. I didn't know it was
Mhm.
possible. And it's like, that's what being visible is about, and the channel growing has done for us. On top of brands reach out to us now, which is like really cool, but like that's second, third.
No, I think that's awesome. What I have seen just in the past, this podcast started in May, so it's still in its infancy. But what I have seen being able to talk to so many people over the course of the last couple of months, there are a lot of gay dads out there, but there is no like portal to connect them all,
Mhm.
which is why representation is so important because, John Doe in some small town somewhere, much like your own, will not have an opportunity to have someone say, "Yeah, I've done this," unless
Mhm.
you go to YouTube and watch your channel and come across your channel or follow someone on Instagram. So I think the community that you guys are now building by way of your channel is fantastic. So I'm excited to see where that all kind of ends up.
Like to what you were saying, we've also gotten plenty of messages like after the adoption had went through of other gay people messaging us and like asking us about the process, like asking us about the adoption process and becoming parents and like oh I'm kind of interested. I'm thinking I might want to do this and like just asking how our experience was and I always like want to share that because like you said you don't know they might not have another opportunity in their circle to hear the experience from
Mhm.
another gay person.
So who's writing the book?
I don't have time.
Well, you have to wait till Harrison's 18 to write the book. I know that's a scary thought because every time I think about the ages and how that's going to listen, milestones are legit. So if you have an opportunity to read any type of book about kids in the milestones, I know it's more literature that you're reading, but as you start to cross these boundaries, the world gets bigger. And I know a lot of people say life gets easier. I don't know that I agree with that. I think it gets different, not necessarily easier, because you get comfortable and you master having an infant, and then all of a sudden they start to crawl, and now it's a whole different ball
So
game.
He's very
he is
close to
very
crying.
he wants to.
He just doesn't have it yet, but you can tell the movements are like starting to where you can tell he wants to move so bad and he just can't
We
do it
probably
yet.
got another month, but like the pieces are there independent of each other. He just can't put them all together quite yet.
When he does, you're gonna be like, okay, okay, I put him down. Where'd he go?
Yeah, he want that's within like last week, and that's yeah, just seeing him grow has been like we're almost at 6 months, and like
Mhm.
that flew by. At the same time, it feels like it's been a long 6 months.
Mhm.
But like we're starting to think about like what do we want his first birthday to look like, and do we want to like where to go, or and we went and watched our old YouTube videos yesterday when he was like we first brought him home, and I was like, oh my God,
There's
I
a
don't
different
recognize that
baby.
baby.
Yeah.
So how full? Last question here. Well, second to last question. How full is your heart knowing that this has been a sought after dream, if you will, and here you are going through it.
For us, it's one of those things I knew I wanted, and like sometimes I like look back, like I can like sit back and like watching Tyler become a parent, and like I like, oh, this is, it's all I ever wanted. And I can sit in the moment and like even when he's crying, or both of them, Tyler and the baby, are crying, I can be like, this is what I wanted. It's what I worked for. It's what, because it wasn't
Yeah.
cheap. Like it did, both the wedding and adoption cost a lot of money, unfortunately. But I can sit here and be present in the moment and think like, oh, this is what I worked for, and live here now instead of. I think that's the coolest thing about documenting it and vlogging it is we have it all recorded. And so at any moment I can go back and relive it.
Which we've never had, right? I mean, we have pictures and stuff in boxes that may or may not exist.
Yeah, there are no photos that I know of me as a baby.
Isn't that strange? Like I have some pictures, but they're like this big, and my mom's got them in some folder somewhere. So it's like, good luck.
Yeah, same.
But Harrison's every second
It's photographed.
Or on video, because there's things we record just for us, like just for our archive.
Good for you. Yeah, good for you. So last question here. Have you noticed any differences in behavior when Harrison is with either of you?
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
He tends to I swear this is the truth. He will let Shawn relax more, but if he's with me, he has to be played with, entertained. I have to be doing something, shaking a toy, like talking to him, dancing, like, but then he will let Shawn just sit there with him. But then if I just sit down with him, he doesn't want to have it.
Yeah, Tyler's the fun parent right now. I have mastered sleep. I can get him to sleep pretty fast, and that's something I picked up when he was like a newborn. I'm the chief sleep officer of our house, where I can get him down for a nap fast. I can get him down to sleep fast. Like that is, I think he has associated me with that. Where
so you can't travel because he needs to go to sleep on time.
Yeah, he's a good sleeper for the most part. Like we just got through a sleep regression, but he is in bed by like 7:30 every day.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad.
Really only up once a night.
He wakes up once and he sleeps till 7. So
well, that it doesn't get terribly better as they continue to grow. I have a 12-year-old. He goes to bed at 9:30. He's itching for 10. It has to be 9:30 because this house needs to be quiet after 9:30. So that's a whole different journey whenever you guys get there, the peace and quiet. Anyway, but I want to say I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. I know with Harrison and work and YouTubing, you guys have your hands full. So I appreciate you sharing your story with me. And it's kind of surreal for me, just kind of because I'm used to seeing you guys. I have like this giant TV behind me. That's where you guys are normally playing in the morning or whenever your videos pop up. So I am excited that you guys are building a community, sharing your story and making sure that others feel like there's an avenue to achieve this as well, which is exciting.
Yeah, and we try to make our vlogs be like just normal. They're just us living our life. That's like we're very intentional on that. Like we don't like seek out things to like build content around. It's just us going. It may feel repetitive, but it's just us going through the motions because we're just a regular family. Like we're just anyone else.
Keep doing what you're doing. The moment it becomes work, then you probably don't want to do it. So
do it. You can never find somebody do it like me. I'ma turn it all the way up, cause it kamikaze. Go ahead and try, baby, you are gonna see that you'll never ever find somebody do it like